I think we have a few quick questions that we can go through, and we'll just jump into that momentarily. Give us 1 second. Okay, so our first question is going to be, what is the most cost-effective way to use traditional marketing? That's a tough question. I don't know if I have an answer for that myself.
They all work well, but you have to use them right. And still, more money by far is spent on television advertising. Of course, that's what I sell. I'm biased, obviously, but that's where you have to really sit down and take the time to look at who your audience is, how best to reach it, what do you really want to say. You have to take the time to market. The biggest problem I have when I meet a new client is that they just don't spend the time to market. They're so busy with their inventory or with their personnel or with all the day-to-day things that the one thing that they neglect is marketing, which is the way you grow your business. And that's really the most important part of your business, is to grow it. So that's a tough answer, but I need more information.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, what is the most cost-efficient way to do anything? Like, how do you answer that question? What you do is you do the research, right, and you take the time to understand your options, and you take the time to understand who you are, because I often think that we have so many assumptions of where our customers are, and we don't try it, we don't test it, we don't really ask, and we miss out. I mean, I talk to people all the time and ask them how many of them are actually advertising on a forum that is specific for their product, and they don't even know those forums exist. And yet there are people who are highly engaged doing user-generated content, but they've never heard of it and they don't try it, and yet their audience is sitting right there. And I would argue the same thing with a niche television station, a niche radio, any of these different things. There's a niche for it. So take the time to research and find out, and that's where your money will be best spent. Next question, and I think we've pretty much addressed this throughout the entire thing, but are all traditional channels still effective?
No. I mean, some are better than others. It's like all marketing. You have to choose the ones that are going to give you the biggest bang for your money. I spend a lot of time in research, and that's one thing Comcast, as a big company, gives us a tremendous amount of research on lifestyles and what people with certain incomes, what channels do they watch, certain education, what channels do they want, how long they've lived in their home, what channels networks do they watch. And so the more specific I can get with a client of what their ideal customer looks like and the one that will give them the most return for their money looks like, then I can determine which channels. I rely on the auto. I try to mirror the same cable channels that Ford and Chevy and Honda buy on a national basis.
Sure.
Because they've done the research.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'll tell you what, sports programming seems to be the one that gives the most bang for the buck. It's more expensive, but it delivers larger audiences and loyal people. And one thing about TV I forgot to mention is that when you're on TV, it tends to give you a degree of extra credibility. Wow, they're on TV. Mm-hmm. I know that's when I went from radio to TV. I saw that immediately. That it gave the customer an air of more credibility. Yeah, being on TV.
I think it absolutely has that effect on it. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, actually. I think that every one of them does work, and I'll come back to being creative. Yeah. Direct mail doesn't work. I promise you, I could probably come up with something that most people would buy, and we have case studies at Fluid that we've done it. And so I think that it's more how do you present the things you have on the medium that it is, and it's people not thinking outside the box and just sending another ad, but you don't actually have to do that. There's many different ways to advertise things on the specific traditional media channels that people aren't really thinking of, and they kind of get stuck in, okay, I'm going to do a radio spot. And it's like there's so many other options. Let's go to the next one, though. How broad of an audience should I aim for? That's another kind of relative question, I would say. I don't know what your thoughts, Steve?
Well, there's two schools of thought, reach and frequency. The greater amount of people you reach, the broader you reach, then you might find somebody who needs your product immediately. One thing about advertising is most of the money you're spending is reaching advertisers that are not going to buy your product today. They're future customers. Mm-hmm. The majority of it is for future customers. If I knew everybody when their refrigerator was going to break, I'd be a genius, you know, or when everybody needed tires. And no matter how many times you see a tire ad, if you have new tires on your car, you're not going to go out and buy new tires, no matter what the. Right. But frequency is important. But I think if you know your customer, it's better to target your customer and try to own that group rather than try to conquer and convince people to your product or service. Own what you do and own what you do best.
And that's what I tell my team as well. I'd rather serve one ad to somebody in market looking for my product than 1,000 ads to 1,000 people who have no interest in me. And so I'm looking for that person who's in market, and I want to find a way to reach them. And that comes back to this fragmentation of the channels and all these things. They're there. You know, look at HDTV is just gold mine for selling home products and different things like that. I mean, you know where your audience is, go to it, find those niche sites that really can help you, and that's where I would start. And then if I had more budget, I'd probably get more broad. And I think this is a good question to end on, but the last question is, what is the future of traditional?
It's multi-screen. It's not TV anymore. It's screens. I'm selling screens, but it's still video. It's still people watch video. They don't static. I think is not as effective. I think the clutter that you get with pop-ups and stuff with the new media online, but it's going to be video. You need to take the time to create something that really gets your message across, and it's going to move the needle, and then you figure out the best way to get that in front of people. I've seen people who just do videos, put them on their website, and hope people find them.
Yeah.
And
all too often.
Yeah, they spend $5,000 on a video, and then they have 600 views on that video in a year, where I can sell them one commercial for $25, play that commercial on it, and reach 1,000 people in one commercial. So the future is video. The future is video, HD video, across all screens.
Yep. You know, I'm actually going to agree with that. I think that we're about to do our next webinar is actually going to be on SoloMo, which is social, local, mobile, and I think you're going to see video affect that just as much, but I think that is another concept that you're really going to be seeing, and traditional plays a huge part in that, and just people localizing in general, whereas we did get a lot more broad. You know, things that I pitch all the time are marketing automation and segmented email, things of that nature. And so we are going away from this shotgun approach, and marketers are getting sophisticated enough, and the technology is now there that we can target individuals rather than mass audiences. And so I think you're going to see things localized, and I think video as a content piece will be the leader in that. Well, Steve, I want to say thank you very much for coming to share your incredible wisdom with us today. I think that those out there probably have a very good understanding of traditional at this point and when and how to use it. And so thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much. This was a pleasure. I love talking to people, but what I love more is asking questions. And that's how I find out if my product can help them.
Sure.
You know, and I can only do that by not talking, but by listening.
Absolutely. A wise man. And just to segue into that, for us to be listening to you, you can always reach us at the hashtag Fluid Webinar Series. There's the two @ symbols there, but again, Steve, why don't you give them your email one more time?
It is Steven with a V, STEVEN _ Fowles, FOWLES @cable.comcast.com, and you can reach me on my mobile phone, 801-201-4182.
And you can always reach Steve by contacting Fluid as well. We work very closely together to try to understand these things and make sure that we give our clients the best possible results. But until next time, guys.